Mayor Bridge is you recall back in, I guess it was beginning of late May, the Minister of Energy announced that not only would they review the whole process around large wind turbines, industrial wind turbines and solar farms, but they also had a lot of comments and concerns about the procedure we went through on our Fit 2.1 applications. Those are the 7 sites that we had. Back on January 10th, we had to hold a special council meeting to pass the municipal support resolutions so that we could fit within a window, I think, that closed around January 18th. As you may recall, the rules were announced for the last go-round sometime late in December, so it was a very, very short time period. To commend the community and council and staff and the ratepayers, we did sign up on January 14th, over 60 people to the Green Energy Co-op, because we were told that that would give us extra priority points and make our applications all that more desirable for what was said to be a very, very competitive process. All those applications went in through our supplier, SunSaver 2, and back on May 23rd, we received, like many people did, a denial of all 7 of the applications, which caused everyone involved, the least of which is our solar provider, to be quite upset and wonder why. Many calls were made, the mayor, the MPP, myself, and others, and what we got back was that the program was oversupplied, oversubscribed, number 1, and number 2, as a result of that, more or less they found any way they possibly could to put aside applications that had any kind of issue with them. What we found out with ours was it was a discrepancy between references to the town of Minto and Minto town. That was enough to lead it off to the side. Obviously, this is more big business for our provider than others who have invested heavily in getting technology here and finding sites and participating in the provincial green energy program. So they were quite upset about that and wanted to correct what were obviously easy issues. But it turns out we were one of hundreds or more across the province that had the same thing. They simply had too many applications, and so they had to find any way they possibly could to get through them. As a result of all the concerns, they have announced a new set of rules. They encouraged us when we were making those calls back in the early summer to participate in the next round. I've provided you a copy of the Canadian Solar Industry Association commenting report on the whole new process. There were webinars and consultations held throughout the summer. Interestingly enough, they did have quite a bit of response on it, more on the larger ones, which I'll have to report to you on at the next meeting. For the bigger farms and so forth, they did have those comments. They did have some comments on those. Just in terms of wrapping it up fairly quickly, on page 2 of the report, there's 7 points that kind of came out of all the documentation. This is a 42-page discussion paper. We had a few days to read it, and it is quite technical. But they are starting the window of opportunity on November 4th, but they're not going to announce the rates until the end of November. So you're going to apply for something, you're not going to know what you're going to get back in terms of return. It seems like they're going to accept the municipal support resolutions. That was the standard form thing that we used to adopt. It had to be exactly as adopted and not a word out of place. It seems like they may be a little more flexible on that under the new program. Everyone's asking for a clear rationale for rejecting applications and an opportunity to appeal or correct things that are either misread or very, very minor. In other words, if it's a good application like ours with 60 people signing in a co-op on municipal property where all the criteria are met, then a simple wording issue should not lead to its demise. We're looking for this to be a lot less bureaucratic than it is. I'm not sure that's the case. In fact, there may be more bureaucracy in 3 than Fit 2.1. The other thing we need to get a handle on before we apply is our participation in terms of how much we contribute to the project. Right now, we are the host, and that was where we limited our participation. The reason for forming a green energy co-op was because that was the local investment group that could invest and demonstrate to the province that the people in this area wanted to invest in solar power. But that's all gone. I don't see any reference to green energy co-ops any further. So what they're looking for is municipalities to put over half the percentage, half the money on the table, which for us would be a fairly substantial amount of money to risk. So we need to gather more information on that. But if we participated over 50% equity share, we'd get 3 points for that. Well, that's fine and dandy, but we have other things we got to spend our capital on that may be almost as important as the green energy program that the province has. Last but not least, remember the program was touted that it was going to create local jobs and bring local investment. I believe it was 40% was domestic content. They've now dropped that to 19 to 28%. So that allows the providers to cut costs. What that tells me is they're probably going to cut the premium that they'll pay on the power as well. So our recommendation to you, just to cut to the chase, is that we generally support the solar industry's position that they announce the amount that they're going to pay now or as soon as they can, so that we all know how much the return these will generate before we apply. We'll have to bring back information to you as to what that means and whether we want to invest or not invest, and I can't give you that now with any degree of certainty. Also, we want them to create administrative efficiencies on the support resolutions so that we get due consideration and they're not looking for little minor things to send your application into the trash can. And finally, like I said in number 3, that if we are denied, that we are given a reason for denial that's clear and not boilerplate. So those are the only things that I can discern out of FIT 3 that may be of interest to us. And as I said, on the larger solar farms and industrial wind turbines and their procurement process they're going to develop, there's another 43-page document I'll be reporting to you on in 2 weeks. So.
Questions?
Through you, Mayor Bridge, it's not so much a question as a comment. When we started down this road 18 months ago or whatever it was really exciting and looking forward to what the outcome might be. And quite frankly, I find the whole process quite monotonous now, and I just wish the government would wash their hands of it and let private enterprise take over and maybe get the job done properly, because this is utter nonsense. It just goes on and on and on. And all it does is generate paper, and it's a waste of everybody's time, and it's a disaster.
Anybody else? Here. I just would like to say too that it is a little frustrating, and I think I've said this before. I think the government has come up with ways to make it so restrictive that the program's basically been canceled, but they don't want to have well, I better be careful.
Yeah, be careful.
Say this. But they don't want to come up to the plate and say it has been canceled, and that's what I'm frustrated like Deputy Mayor Fisk is. Although I do feel that we probably should at least explore the next level. It won't take to have a meeting isn't bad, just to find out where we're at. But I bet you when we find this, it'll all work out that the economics is going to get worse and worse, and this program is basically going to be canned down the road. And what we're sitting here now, we're actually buying back power from the wind turbines, because I was talking when I was at the OPA the other day and talking to some of the industry people. This is how bad it is. We were actually giving power away to people in New York State, to their manufacturing, giving our power away that we were paying a lot of extra money for. We're giving it, and they're actually competing against our manufacturing people that have to pay a bonus. So that's why they're now going to not pay. They're going to tell people in the wind turbines, don't produce it, because it's better than we're giving away free power because our grid was overrun. So the whole program has to be rethought. And I know we were excited when this happened, and I was excited because I thought it was a way that we could participate and maybe bill about $100,000 a year to help defer some of our costs for our facilities. And I thought that made a lot of sense back then. But I am very frustrated as well with this, because it's getting monotonous.
And I'm thinking too, if we're frustrated, I've got to believe the Sunsaver too is getting extremely frustrating. Have they given any indication whether they wanna go ahead with,
No, they're in for a lot of investment already.
well, this is it, they've put out a lot of funds and time and energy to prepare all this, and they're willing to keep going with it?
Yes. Mayor Bridge, at this point, we're just into commenting on the new rules, and I think we should meet with our provider and come back to you on, if we are gonna make applications, how best to frame them. We've positioned ourselves as a host, and quite frankly, I kinda like that approach, where, I mean, they did a lot of the work in filing these things, and we just received revenue, so. But we wanna bring all the options forward to you under the new rules, so you can make a decision. So if you're comfortable commenting on the three things that are in the recommendation, that would be great. And certainly appreciate the frustration as well.
Move the recommendation, all in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on. 5-year plan.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Back in June 5th, we had a report on the Wellington County 5-year review. And resolution that you passed, 14213, I think was on your desk. Basically, it's summarized in the report there that there was an issue of the maximum lot size for severed lots in secondary agricultural areas. There was a request that they enhance their community improvement plan policies so that the county became a player in the downtown incentives programs, just like lower tier municipalities. We also encourage them to go under the current provincial policy rather than the reviewed policy that seems to still be ongoing at the provincial level. And then we had 4 or 5 changes to the maps that we wanted to bring forward to them. And so I've attached the staff report from the county and their minutes, and this report that I've provided to you is just simply to give you an update on where they are. In terms of the secondary agricultural areas and the maximum lot size, they basically adopted the policy as you had presented it to them, so they listened on that one. In terms of community improvement plans and becoming a player and as active as local municipalities in revitalizing downtowns, that has been referred to the Economic Development Committee, which is good news for us because our mayor is the chair of that committee. And I think that there's a bit of
We're working on it.
groundswell to have the county join in the financial incentives that are in place at the local level. They do agree, they have submitted under the current provincial policy. In terms of the land uses, I thought maybe I'd briefly go over the maps. You can't really see them all that well. I'm gonna put my glasses on. That's Clifford. The issue with Clifford was the rail lands. I think you can see the rail lands now, which would have run somewhere in this area. They're now gone, and they're residential. And also over in here where the Rotary Park is, we had suggested they go with a Greenlands designation to allow for the active park. But they looked at that and they said, you're okay with the Greenlands, the core Greenlands designation and the floodplain designation that's there because public parks like the ball field and all that are allowed in every zone in every area. So we don't have a conflict as far as that goes. In Harriston, our big concern was these green lands areas that were showing up in our industrial park. They actually took a little piece out right here. Remember last meeting we were talking about the 55-acre parcel? That's the town's right there, and the 11-acre parcel is right here. So those green lands aren't affecting our ability to have industrial lands there. They did take a piece out. These are the Peter Harrison's property. Peter's the one providing the town with an easement for that trunk sewer that's going through there. They took that little bit out there so that he could look at some kind of development options in the future. So they have addressed our comments and concerns on that one. I think that was the only issue we really had in Harriston that I recall. And in Palmerston, we had a numbering issue in here with these policy areas. I don't recall there is any other serious issues in Palmerston. There is a bit of an extension in here for the core greenlands, but that really doesn't affect that parcel very much. Remember, we're doing some work here later on today on that parcel, so. As a secondary consideration that came out upon reviewing the staff report from the county, that purple area that's shown there is what they're calling secondary aggregate areas. And the county planners were recommending that you would only need a zoning change if you wanted to try and do an extraction use in one of those purple areas. You can't see it all that well, but there's some black outlines in here. The black outlined areas are quite a bit smaller than the purple areas. That's the black outlined areas are the old aggregate designations. The purple area is the new one. So what that would have meant would be that local councils, like yourself, would have made decisions on what aggregate uses could go in through a zoning change application. And you could require studies and analysis and deal with species at risk and all that stuff. So you could do that. That was how it was recommended. That's how the planning committee at the county recommended it. But at the last county council meeting, when those minutes came forward, they changed it back to the old way, which means that in the purple areas there, the secondary aggregate areas, you need both an official plan and zoning amendment. So basically, while we have a broader area, it's back to the same process that we had before. So the county will be there with you and their planning documents if there's any major aggregate use proposals for you to consider. So didn't really raise that with you, quite frankly, didn't pick that up during the review of the document, but
It came up in the council.
right. So just pointing, if you read that material and you were wondering what that was about, that's what it's about. So I think that the county has been very responsive. I think it was good that you did comment to them. I'm not sure that all municipalities did, but I'm recommending that you just receive their report and that and just receive it as information. It's actually the planning committee, planning and economic, it's just planning,
Yep.
not the land division committee.
Yep. Questions?
I don't have a question, but it's a comment that's made with respect to other wetlands. I think we're going to be finding when we try to get a little more serious about controlling flooding and what we do north and east of town, that any wetland is important when it comes to trying to control the water coming down the river or the waterway. So I think all wetlands are important, whether they're provincially significant or not, and I think this municipality should endeavor to protect those wetlands where possible, because I think they eventually will play a role in our flood plan.
I'll just make one comment on the gravel pit, or the aggregate. The one concern that was brought up at county council, and the reason it got changed, was if we went to the system that they were talking about, a lot of the onus would have been just on local council. It doesn't hurt to have the expertise of, and we have county planning, but some people don't have county planning. They have their own planning. So I think having it have to go through their planning thing is just an extra layer. It doesn't hurt, especially when you're coming, Terry, to where some of ours are in that secondary. There's a lot of wetlands up in there. We know we're working on one now that started when we started as council. It's still not through yet, and that's Murray Group 1, and basically that's still at the county, and they're still working through a lot of issues. So there's a lot of expertise at that board, and I think it's good that we're back to that and having that extra layer. I don't think we'd want it to be, we'd have to look after all that area. And we have a lot. I was quite surprised when I looked at the map, and this one doesn't really, if you go on the website, you'll see it a little bit better, Bill, but it shows existing, but there's a whole bunch of secondary around that existing that's there. Like all that black area you see there is, most of it's secondary, a lot of it. And that's future development. And one thing we're running out of in Ontario is aggregate. Close aggregate, what they call it, close to where they want to use it. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on aggregate going forward. So I think it's good to have the county still involved. I like the way they changed that rule. And one other point, I guess, was that we did get our recommendation, and it was brought out at the meeting, that it was pretty well what we asked them about for the lot sizes. So putting input in does help. because it was exactly what pretty well we had asked them to do, so.
Need a motion.
Need a motion? Do we accept? Yeah. Moved by Councilor Turton, second by Councilor Faulkner, all in favor? I knew you were thinking about putting your hand up, I just. Okay, I appreciate that. And I guess I have to declare conflicts. You gotta take over, Deputy Mayor, Fisk, on this one.
Okay, it's item 10C10 on our agenda. Bill, you'll handle, or C.A. White, handle that, please?
Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor, this is the third industrial land purchase brought forward to you. On your map, you can see it's the big red star on the map. You can also see the yellow line, which will be the future road. We've hired, as of last meeting, Triton Engineering to design that road. So what you're looking at is 3 lots fronting on the county road, and then this interior lot fronting on the future road and Minto Road in the Palmerston Industrial Park. And there'll be 2 or 3 more industrial lots that will front on the south side of that yellow road in the future. So this is for an proposed automotive repair and related office, warehouse, outside storage use. It's for a numbered company. They've asked us to use the numbered company name for now. They're complying with our general covenants, except that there will be a smaller perhaps will be a smaller building at this time. They're at about 5% coverage. Our normal coverage is about 15%. I do believe the building will come back to you larger than that, and it will be much closer to that 15%. But right now, the way the agreement of purchase and sale is written is it's for a 2,200 square foot minimum building. So our recommendation is that you do consider a bylaw in regular session to authorize, would be the deputy mayor and myself to sign the documents related to that transaction.
Any comments or questions? I just have a question, I guess. Under comments, it says the location of the parcel is subject to change based on 2 conditional offers on lots fronting on County Road 123. I'm just wondering why that would be.
Right. Those 2 lots are asking for access to the county road. Those 2 lots fronting on County Road 123, and we believe we have permission for that. And that means that this lot can be, that we're selling today, would be moved further north on the property, and the road can be shifted further north, because you no longer need to get a road into those lots that were on the county road. So we do need a little bit of that's why it refers to that flexibility right now. We used to, basically those 3 lots on County Road 123 would front on the county road, wouldn't have had access, and then would have had a town road in behind there. And this lets us, because the county has seen fit to allow those 2 conditional offers to have access, and only those 2 conditional offers, then as long as those go through, then we can carry on with this transaction as proposed.
That's a nice surprise.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, the recommendation is that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the September 27th, 2013 report from the CA clerk regarding the industrial land sale to 2380681 Ontario Limited Palmerston Industrial Park for $15,000, and council considers bylaws in regular session authorizing the mayor and CA clerk to sign any and all documents. I guess, should we change that to deputy mayor? Sorry, that should be deputy mayor and CA clerk to sign any and all documents related to closing the transaction. Someone like to move that? Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Faulkner. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I may end up having, I think we've had the saga of our kittens in our barn. I have an appointment to get to in Owen Sound with all 4 of them here, so I may have to leave once as we get going here shortly. So. Kittens to the adoption center.
Family matters come first.
Yeah.
Is The saga of the kittens.
We're almost done.
Almost done. I may have to leave on your other business.
Well, light her up then, let's get her on, Billy.
Am I carrying on?
Carry
I
on.
guess you must.
Okay,
You have to transfer the chair to Councillor Colwell.
okay, I'm sorry. We'll transfer the chair to Councillor Caldwell for the report, or agenda item number 10C11.
Okay, and the Finance Committee has 2 items on the agenda today. The first one is a towel drain loanage application, and then we'll ask Treasurer Duff to continue with the approval of accounts September 23rd.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Caldwell. I'll be brief, I think. We have a fairly routine tile drain application. I think the most interesting thing, as you see on your map, this is abutting the south end of the town of Harrison, so just a different location. But it's the usual item. We need council to approve this application, then they will go forward, do the work, and then it'll come back again, and we'll actually do a loan once the costs are known. So the estimated cost is $21,800, and they're requesting a loan of $16,350 in this one.
Okay, and the recommendation is the Council of the Town of Minto receives the report from the tax collector regarding an application for tile drain loan by Linda Sinclair and approves the attached application for a loan under the Tile Drainage Act. Does anyone have any comments before we take the vote? Yes, Deputy Mayor?
Through you, Councillor Caldwell, this property is in town, actually, within the town limits.
That's what's
Yeah.
unique, yes.
Yes, and I wonder how often is there a tile drainage loan approved for, within a
I
municipality?
think that's gotta be pretty rare. That's what I was saying to our tax
Palmerston.
collector.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a, yeah,
Probably
there's
in
that one
Palmerston,
there.
probably High Millers.
Oh,
Yeah.
Keats Bridge, maybe? too?
Yeah.
And,
He's in
and,
Perth, though.
Oh, yeah.
and the one that from North Perth there, that came into town too.
Yeah.
It wasn't an application,
Yeah.
though. from
Yeah.
But
Palmerston.
in the urban boundary, that's, you
Yeah.
know,
So
there might be other cases in the past, but
Yeah.
not too often.
You maybe should consider getting a loan for drainage around your house, because you're prone to flooding there.
Yes, yes. I think I'll get Mike McIsaac to have a look now. eh? Bring that forward next time.
Is that the kid?
Babies are going to adoption.
Do we have any other questions or comments? Okay, may I ask someone to make the motion, please? Councillor Faulkner, seconded by Councillor Emily, all in favor? So moved. And
Moving and grooving.
now we'll continue with the approval of accounts.
Okay, and the accounts, there's unfortunately lots to approve this time. This is our big one. In administration, out of the $2,048,000 approximately, $1,768,000 is paying our third quarter requisitions. So thanks to our residents who've been diligent in paying their taxes this past week, we're now handing a good chunk off to the county and the school boards. And we also had a debenture payment of $151,000. As you're aware, we've had some issues with the roof in this building, and we have $17,000 in expenses to repair that one. And we've also been busy with other projects, primarily the Harrison Fire Hall, another progress payment of $157,000 there. In Clifford, we've been working on Queen and Clark Streets, improving the water there. There's about $39,000 in expenses there, and another $24,500 on our Clifford Ball Diamond. And that project, as Coordinator Lubers has mentioned, is getting down to the last stages, at least as far as direct municipal involvement. So those are the
Okay.
highlights.
Anyone have any questions or comments? No? Would someone make the motion then to approve the accounts? Mayor Bridge,
Way to go, your worship.
seconded by
I signed those
Councillor
checks.
Turton, all in favor? Opposed? And carried.
Okay, thank you.
And I turn the chair back to you, Mayor Bridge.
Thank you. Other business disclosed additional items, and I had a few people. We'll start at this end this time. Ron?
Oh, yeah.
You old boy. Light it up.
I have a couple of things. Firstly, the Lions Club power washed our building in ours, meaning the town's. Building in Palmerston, they power washed it all, and you'd be amazed how white it became. It almost looks brand new. And we trimmed all the shrubs around it too, so it looks pretty nice.
Give it another 5 minutes.
Last thing we're gonna do, we said it was the last thing the last time, but, I also have a OSM board meeting this weekend in Perry Sound where they're hosting the convention for next year. And, they are looking for, things that we would bring forward for our convention, meaning, either, either something that, if you spoke to a speaker that would come forward, or one of the sessions that would bring forward. If anyone has anything that we'd like to bring forward in, Town Minto that we could, I think the mayor had something that you were,
We talked about sustainable funding. I think it'd be important to talk about that with the gas tax again. But maybe what we'll do, Ron, is we'll have a discussion with the department heads too, and
Sure.
and as any councillors want to add anything.
I could bring that up, that
Yeah.
that we will be bringing some forward,
Yeah.
something forward, so that they may have interested in running a workshop and something like that, or
Yeah.
having one of them. They're usually, it's well attended usually with the convention
Yeah.
with the leaders, so.
I know. It's good.
Anybody got anything else that they would like to bring forward, on behalf of, the community, I certainly would do that too.
Ron?
I've two things. First of all, a real big thank you to, I believe it's Nancy at the County Museum.
Yes. Janet.
Janet,
Janice Hindley.
Janice, and I believe there's an Amy and a Patty.
Yeah.
And there was one gentleman that helped me out, but they gave me stuff, had to sign a loan out of the museum for the heritage tent for the International Plow Match, and it was a tremendous response, and they were just great to work with. And the second thing is, we now have money in our IPM 2016 bank account, so
Let's get spending it.
I have the executive set, and we're ready to roll.
Okay. Rick, did you say you had some?
Well, just, we've got mutual aid tonight. The
Yep.
town of Minto is hosting the, I guess it'd be the monthly mutual aid in the Harrison, well, I was gonna say the Harrison Station, but due to the renovations, it's gonna be in the Maple Leaf Room at the Harrison Legion.
Starts at 7?
uh,
8.
Or at 8? Okay. Okay. Hopefully we'll be able to make it down there. I think I'm gonna try to make it.
Yeah, you're all more than welcome to come
Yep.
down.
And I think we got an
And the guest
invitation.
speaker is?
Love to.
Oh, that's- well, there.
And, oh,
I think his name's Zodiac. Joe Zodiac. That's the name. I don't, sure. Okay, good. Terry?
A couple of things. Last week, or maybe the week before, I think we all received some pictures by email from Betty Henry.
Yep.
And I wasn't clear on what the purpose of those pictures were. I didn't get any notes or anything, so I guess I'm asking what was that about,
I
if
think-
anybody knows?
Yeah, I think maybe Councillor Truton had a meeting with the Public Works on that, if you want to bring
Yes,
that up.
thanks, Mayor Bridge. I was going to report on that, and I think what's happened down the extension of Pallister, it's not Pallister, it's Raglan.
Raglan.
There has been people dumping down between the ER Center and Larry and Betty's place. So all they were asking for was a couple signs. I think it's important that we get it out to our ratepayers that we do have a dump, and like there wasn't just old leaves, small branches, there was blocks. I mean, if you take a walk down in there, there's garbage. So over the next week or so, there's gonna be 2 signs go up, and our Director of Public Works and myself, Brian, and we went and talked with Betty and Larry, and I think we got through to them that we are concerned about people dumping, and we are putting signs up. There was a couple of other things, a survey stake that they were concerned about, and there was a third thing. We asked them, and we ask all of our ratepayers, that if somebody does see somebody dumping and sees a license plate, all they need to do is phone the town. I mean, they don't have to state who they are. And you know, things like that are good to know. So as of right now, I think we're on an even keel there, and they're happy with what we're gonna do for them.
And I think that was, so I was gonna bring that up, but.
Yeah, I was
Dave
too.
was probably gonna bring it up.
Yep.
The other thing is, the AMO watch file last week, I believe, they had an announcement regarding an upcoming seminar on the OMERS pension plan. I have grave concerns about all pension plans, defined benefit pension plans, and especially the one here, which is OMERS, that it's not sustainable. And I think there have to be changes made. I don't know who starts that. I don't suppose it's us, but I would hope that we would have representation at that meeting. I don't know if that's in the plans or not, but it's October 24th at the Quality Hotel in Oshawa, and they do recommend municipalities be represented, so I think this is an area that we have to watch carefully, and our upcoming councils have to watch carefully, because it's, there's something like a $10 billion deficit right now, and it's just growing immensely, so somebody's going to have to pay that, and I'd be afraid that it might be the municipalities are going to have to come up with more than they are now, and as we know here, our finances are pretty tight, so, and it's not going to get any better, so.
I know the county's got some representation, going to have some representation. That's another one there, Ron, that would probably be an ideal one to talk about at Osum. I totally agree with Deputy Mayor Fisk. I think we've had some discussions at the county level as well, and I think what's going to have to happen is sooner or later, and some of the larger, most of your larger private companies have done this, where they've got kind of two types of pensions now. One that people have already been on, which is the defined pension. Another is direct contribution. I think we're going to have to get to direct contribution. No municipalities will be able to fund this in the future. First of all, you can't find enough investments to get it. Teachers' pensions are having trouble. They're so big they can't even find places to put their money now, but they still need to pay this back off. So I think this is something that we all have to look at as one of those cost things, but it has to be pushed maybe from our idea to get it on the table, but it has to be a provincial mandate to actually something done. But definitely we can keep pushing in the province on this, because it's not just OMERS, it's all kinds of other pensions. Okay. And we may have to come the future, will have to be, you know, the people that are in it already, sure, they can grandfather them to the end, but eventually you got to cut it. I'm on a pension board for the Lutheran Church, and we had to do that. We were on funded liability, and we had to go forward. We had to stop that part, and then new people came on. It was a direct contribution because we couldn't afford to keep going. And you still want to have pensions at the end of the day. You don't want to take it away from people. So I totally agree with you. I don't know whether this will be something that if we could send somebody or not, but
Well, actually, I think you and I are in something else that particular day.
I can't go, I know that day, but maybe make sure we get our input back into it.
And finally, I'd like to issue a challenge to the employees, staff of the town of Minto and the fire department. There's a blood donor clinic coming up, I believe, October the 10th. And had it not been for Canadian Blood Services, Mayor Bridge and I would have probably been attending a funeral today.
That's right.
So I think it's really important that those of us that are able to donate, get out and donate, because we had a niece that required over 20 units of blood at a very difficult childbirth, and if the blood hadn't been there, she wouldn't be with us today, so it's important.
I'll see you. I got that down, the 10th. Okay.
That's it.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else? Right? Move that Councilor Turton, second by Councilor Caldwell, the Committee of the Whole convenes in the Town of Minto Council. All in favor? Councilor Fawnin, second by Councilor Elliott, the Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor?
Got pictures.
Oh, my goodness. Are these the kittens? Oh.
In his pocket.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Fisk, and second by Councilor Faulkner, that the bylaw number 2013-78 being the bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw number 0186 for the subject property part lot 33 concession 16 with an municipal address of 5563 Wellington Road 2, former Township of Minto, Town of Minto, be introduced and read in first, second, third time, passed on by council, sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor? Opposed? Moved by Council Cole, second by Council Turton, the bylaw number 2013-79 being the bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a lease agreement with the Wellington County Daycare 215 William Street, Palmerston, be introduced and read in first, second, and third time, and passed on by council, sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor? Carried. This is the next one. Terry, can you take that one? I'm on conflict on that.
We'll go for
You don't have to leave yours. I don't move.
Moved by Councillor Hembley, second by Councillor Elliott, that the bylaw 2013-80, being a bylaw to authorize the deputy mayor and clerk to sign related documents to sell lands, Palmerston Industrial Park to 2380681 Ontario Limited, be introduced and read a first, second, third time and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried.
Moved by Councilor Faulkner, second by Councilor Turton, that the bylaw number 2013-81 being the bylaw to temporarily close the road to the traffic from 10 a.m. until 12 noon on Monday, November 11th, 2013, in Harrison, Palmerston, for Remembrance Day parades, be introduced and read first, second, and third time, and passed on by council, seal of the seal corporation. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councilor Colwell, second by Deputy Mayor Fisk, that the bylaw number 2013-82 being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the October 1st, 2013 committee and council meeting be introduced and read in first, second, third time, and passed on by council, and seal the seal of the corporation. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Hemley, that the council of the town of Minto adjourn to meet again to call the mayor. All in favor? Here.